Welcome back to my channel, YouTube. Thanks for being here. Just kidding. Okay, I'm just kidding. We're not normally that excited, but thank you for coming back to my channel. I'm hoping you're here because you're learning something, or I don't know, maybe just like seeing my face. Okay, no? All right. We're going to talk about today the age-old question, and people search it on YouTube all the time, and I think it's a little bit misleading, so I'm going to break it down for you. This is, can you buy real estate with no money? Not no money down, no money. That's very different things. A lot of these videos will tell you how to buy a house or buy real estate with no money down. Yes, you can do that too. But what if you don't have any money at all? Like what if you don't have access to getting a loan from a bank because your credit sucks? Whatever reason, you just can't get money, you can't find money, you don't have relatives that will give you money, or you don't have people that believe in you to trust you with their money. Whatever the reason might be, if you don't have the money, it's hard to buy real estate if you don't know what you're doing. Can you buy real estate with no money? Yes, you can. Is it hard? Yes, it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not for everybody. This is going to be the hardest way that you invest in real estate. If you have money, that is an easier way to go. If you have access to other people's money, whether it's a banks or investors, family and friends, whatever, that also is an easier way to go, but it is possible. So I'm going to tell you how to do it. You ready? Step one, find a house. Not like you can really read this. I don't know why I'm writing because my handwriting sucks. Find a house. Now how are you going to buy that? You ain't got no money, maybe no credit. How are we going to buy this house? There are a couple different ways. My personal favorite I've talked about many times, we've gone over it, is the owner finance option or lease purchase agreement. You can actually do a lease purchase agreement and not pay any money down. You have to find the right owner. You have to find the right situation. And typically it's going to involve you solving somebody's problem, and not your problem, but somebody else's problem. Then you have a seller that's usually a lot more willing to work with you. Now the seller's got to get something out of it. So what do they get out of it? Well, you can negotiate a higher monthly payment where you pay, let's say $200 over your note, over the payment every month, and the owner gets that money on top of whatever rent he would get typically. And then at the end, you buy it out from under him, or at the end of the contract that y'all agree on, you buy the house out from under him, whether that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And you can do that. People are willing to do that. It's easier a lot of times with commercial property. It is a little bit harder to get lending on a commercial property. A lot of people that own commercial property and commercial real estate will be creative in their financing because they want to sell the property. For these types of deals, this is not going to be people you find on a real estate listing, an MLS listing. Nothing against realtors. These are just not your people. People that list the realtors can sell traditionally. They can get top dollar for their house, and they don't need to do any type of creative financing to get their money out of that property. So typically, if they're listing with a realtor, these are not the ones you're trying to find, okay? You want to find a house, and then you want to find a house that maybe there's a problem with the owner. We're going to call this a distressed owner. Now, this could be a tired landlord. It could be somebody that had a property that they were renting and they just decided they don't want to rent anymore because they have tenants over and over again that just destroy their property. That's a thing. It happens a lot. You may get a person that somebody previously passed away. They inherited the property. They don't know what to do with it. They don't want to be a landlord, whether they have tenants or not. They've got to get rid of this house because it wasn't something they ever signed on to do. Another situation would be somebody that maybe is upside down. They can't get out of their house what they owe on it for whatever reason. Right now, the real estate market is really, really hot. And so people are paying top dollar for most properties. You're not finding a lot of your deals where sell your house for, 70, 80% of the value of the property. It's just not happening as much anymore. There's certain areas you can do that in. It's just not as prevalent right now in this market because of the interest rates, because of everything. Houses are going like crazy. So it is harder to find a distressed owner, but you can. They're out there. They're everywhere. So once you find your distressed owner, that's when you contact the owner. And you have to be able to talk to the owner. Whoever makes the decisions, you have to be able to talk to that person. Because if you can't talk to that person, you're not going to be able to educate them on what you want. You're not going to be able to negotiate terms. You're not going to be able to do anything, because if you go through a third party, There's a lot that gets lost in translation between you're educating one person and then them trying to educate somebody else. So even if you're going through a husband and the wife is the one making the decision, the wife needs to be there when you're talking because she needs to understand exactly what you're doing, vice versa, whatever. Once you do this, that owner, if you've done a good job in educating them and they are distressed and they don't have a lot of options on what they can do, more than likely you could probably get a contract on that house. You just have to make sure that it's advantageous for you and for them. You don't want to burn them. You want to make sure that they're getting what they need out of it as well, because people talk. And I'm telling you, if you help one person solve a problem, they're going to tell their friends when they have problems. You really want to be upfront. You really want to be very transparent, and you want to be moral, ethical. Don't do things that you wouldn't want somebody to do to you. All right, because a lot of times these owners, they may be older, they may be even elderly. It's just, we don't need to take advantage of elderly people. Contact the owner. Get a contract on the house. First of all, make sure the owner knows exactly what you're doing with that property. Now this contract, it can have whether you want to live in it. Let's say you want to rent it out, or you're taking over, whoever might be, there may already be a tenant in there, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. Once you get that contract, you're good to go, move on. Like, you don't have to have all the stuff like a inspection. You can if you want. You don't have to have an appraisal. You don't have to have all these expenses that come along with just a regular traditional purchase. This is possible with no money. Because once you get that contract, let's say you negotiated no money down, and your first payment is your monthly payment with whatever extra you've agreed on or interest or whatever that they're making off of it. By the time you have to pay that payment, you can already have a tenant in that property or whatever it is that you want to do with it. So you really can do it with no money. There's also another way. It's actually called subject to. Subject to. I know that sounds kind of weird. It looks like an unfinished sentence, but basically what a subject to agreement is, you take over the loan from the owner. So the owner keeps the mortgage, the note in his name or her name, and you take over the payment. You take over the rights to the property, and you take over what happens to that property, but you make the payments on that property from there on out. So then it relieves the owner of having to even deal with it anymore. It's on their credit. They still have the loan. You will want to probably buy that out from under the owner. Within 2 to 5 years, you may not want him to hold it for 30. If he will or she will, that's fine. That's between you and the person making the deal. But you can just take over payments. So whatever that payment is, you can take them over, but then take over control of the property and what happens to it from there on out. Another way I can make money, or I make money in real estate, is I'm not an agent. I don't have a real estate license. I'm not a realtor, but I can help people find homes and help people with their financing and help people negotiate deals. So I actually work as a consultant a lot of times to people that want to either owner finance their properties, or they want to get into an owner finance home. I don't mess with anything that realtors have going on. I don't want to step on any toes. So unless a realtor has sent me something off market, I typically just don't go for those properties. You know, they need to get paid. They need to make their commissions. And a lot of times the deals that I do just don't have the room in it for the commission for the realtor. I do work with realtors. I think it's good to have relationships with realtors, but in this case, this is not a situation where you would have a realtor involved. I would actually help the homeowner or the seller buy or sell their house. And with the terms, with the contracts and all of that kind of stuff, making sure they have all the necessary items that they need. They can ask any questions of me is different than a regular transaction or regular closing. But I actually charge a fee for my services. So you can charge a consulting fee for your time, for your knowledge, for what you do. You need to check your state laws. I don't know the laws in every state, so your laws may be different. You want to make sure you're not violating any realtor laws if you're doing that in your state. Okay, I live in Florida. I work in Florida and Alabama. So if that's something you want to do, you can consult and make money, charge a fee. You don't have to put any money into it, but you can make money. Wholesaling. Probably one of the most popular ways a lot of people are buying real estate with no money right now is wholesaling. It is a lot more challenging in a lot of areas right now because of the values, and people aren't having to get rid of their homes at lower values than what they're worth. It is harder to do. It's not impossible, but it is harder to do. Wholesaling is basically you find a property, you negotiate a price for that property, you then put a contract on that property saying your intent to buy it. Then you usually have 30 to 45 days to complete the purchase of that property. But wholesalers then take that contract and they sell the contract. not the house, because they don't own it yet. They sell the contract, because once you have that contract, for whatever time length that is contract is valid, you control that property as far as the rights to it. They can't sell that to anybody else. So you can take that contract and you can up the price and resell it to somebody else. And you can actually have what's called a double closing, where you do not have to have any money, don't have to bring any money to the table. If this is something that you're doing, you need to find real estate attorneys that know what they're doing. You need to find your title companies that know what they're doing. You do need to make sure you do your due diligence. There's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes in wholesaling, and you definitely need to make sure you know what you're doing, or at least have an idea. It's not hard to do. It sounds really difficult. The hardest part is finding a property that fits the formula that you have to fit to make money off that property. I'm not going to go into how to wholesale because that's not what this video is about, but that is another way that you can make money off real estate with no money. And I would say finally, you can make money by getting money from other people. If you have friends and family you can borrow money from, or investors that want to invest in you. There's also what's called hard money lenders. So this is basically, a lot of times they don't look at your credit, they look at the deal. They're not really looking at whether or not your credit score is 700. They're looking at what the deal is and your credibility as far as what you've done and what you are capable of doing. When you have a deal that you need funding for a short period of time, you can get a hard money loan. These are meant for short periods of time. They're high interest. You want to pay them back as quickly as possible. Most people, if you get a hard money loan, by the time they're done with their project, immediately pay off that hard money loan. That's where your interest rate is really high. You can get a traditional loan after it's done and you can keep the profit. I don't do a lot of this personally. I'm not saying I won't. I'm not saying I'm not interested or I would never do it. This is just something that I don't do a lot of. I try to stick to things that really don't involve me borrowing money or using any of my money. If that's it. I know this is so not pretty and it's really probably hard to read. It's just kind of as a visual and gives me something to do while I'm talking to you. As you can see, you can buy real estate with no money. It's very possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. I would suggest if you want to get into real estate, whatever it is that you want to do, investing, whatever, I would recommend just start educating yourself on the different ways that you can invest and figure out what's best for you. Everybody's different and everybody has a different purpose and a different reason for why they're doing what they're doing and why you're investing in real estate at the time that you are. So just make sure that you find the path that works for you specifically. I do things a lot differently than a lot of my peers in this industry, but that's okay because I have a little bit of a niche in what I do. Anyway, if you have any questions, please drop them below. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel. If you're here again and you've watched me before, you need to just subscribe. You just push the button. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. I'm gonna have everything linked here or somewhere. It's gonna be around here somewhere. And find me if you have any questions, hit me up and I'll try to answer any questions that you might have. Hope y'all got a lot of valuable information and I'll catch you later. Bye.